All right. And welcome into the Pump Fake, everybody. A week away from less than a week away from the new league year officially beginning when the NFL free agency frenzy will come to be. Jarrett Bailey with you as always, joined by my good friend from SB Nation, JP Acosta. Hi, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. We've just posted my favorite story that I get to write every year, which is NFL draft comparisons that have nothing to do with football. So you should go read that. It's incredible. People are already asking for a part two, which will probably happen sometime next week. But it's one of my favorite stories, and it's the perfect time. Like draft comparison sucks, so we're gonna give you some good ones.
Yeah, everybody should absolutely go read that over at SB Nation right now. Very fun piece every year that JP does. Highly suggest checking it out. Even the ones I don't understand that are anime related, they still make me chuckle. You do a great job on that every year, buddy. So great job.
Thank you. I did the Mark Henry one specifically for the ones that know. For the people that understand, you get it.
Where does Mark Henry's theme song rank in terms of all-time great wrestling theme songs? It's a top
Top 5.
tenner. Top five?
Five.
Okay.
It's got to be top 5. It completely sets like the tone for Mark Henry.
For
You hear the
sure.
name Mark Henry, you think of 3-6 Mafia.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
3-6 Mafia to actually do his theme song live at a show,
Yeah.
incredible.
I would agree. I think, yeah, for sure a top tenner. I mean, I'd have to actually make a list to see where it would fall. I was always
we gonna draft WWE theme song?
that would be fun. Yeah, I think that we'll do that at the end. That's a good shout. All right. That's a great on the fly suggestion. I love it. Before we get into that, though, if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're listening as a podcast, leave a review, do all that fun stuff on the Pump Fake podcast feed. Today, yes, obviously, NFL free agency frenzy, like I said at the top of the show, beginning in less than a week. JP and I are going to go through some of the more high profile free agents as well as trade candidates and predict slash name some fun landing spots for said players. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's start off with the hot name. DK Metcalf requesting a trade from the Seattle Seahawks. I wrote a few weeks ago that I think the Texans should be a team to make a move for a guy like DK Metcalf. They were in the receiver market last year, making a big splash with Stephon Diggs. They reworked his deal to, I guess, please him at the time to allow him to test the market this year. He had the ACL injury. Tank Dell, a second straight year with a pretty catastrophic injury to his knee. They're, having the benefit of having CJ Stroud on a rookie contract. They have some money to spend. And if you can go out and get a DK Metcalf to complement Nico Collins, I think that's a landing spot that would make a lot of sense for a team that has won playoff games in consecutive years, but have hit that ceiling in the divisional round each year because of the injuries. And then this past year, the offensive line was pretty bad as well. That is a landing spot that I would love. But Corey Kinnan, I think, was another one who said this team yesterday, and I think it makes a lot of sense as well. And I would love to see it pairing him in New England with Drake May.
Oh, absolutely. New England's honestly one of the most interesting free agent teams in this free agency period because of how much money they have.
Yeah.
And I know everybody's going to harp on, DK wants to play for a contender. Why would he want to play for the Patriots? Money talks.
Yeah.
And Adam Schefter reporting that DK wants a new contract is going to be the thing that gets him. Whoever's going to pay him DK Metcalf money is going to be the one to get him. I think New England is the perfect spot for him because they already have the complementary receivers to a guy like DK's abilities. I think DK at this stage is a little bit of a specific player. Like he is very good at dunking on people downfield, the explosiveness vertically. But that's what the Patriots need. Imagine Drake May throwing moonballs to DK Metcalf, allowing for guys like Jalen Polk. You let Pop Douglas kind of work in the in-between areas. And once again, that opens you up to more possibilities at 4. You're not worried about having to get a receiver or trading back because you have DK Metcalf. That is your acquisition at that spot. It frees you up to possibly go out and address the offensive line in the draft. You can take best player available if Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter fall to 4. It just makes a lot of sense for them to the point where I'm like, this is a thing that should happen. The Patriots should be all over the wide receiver market, especially getting an established veteran like Metcalf in there with Drake May.
Yeah, and I mean, they saw firsthand in their own division what getting a really good receiver can do for a young quarterback. Josh Allen took a big step forward in 2020 after they traded for Stephon Diggs. I think if you do something similar for Drake May, who showed a ton of potential last year in terms of taking that next step, I would love to see that for New England. And I think it would be a very fun landing spot. There's other teams that are going to be in the mix too. You know, the Chargers are always going to be talked about when it comes to receivers at this point, just because outside of Ladd McConkey, they don't have a lot there. And what better way to help Justin Herbert get back to where he was in that 2021 season, just slinging the ball downfield, than with a guy like DK Metcalf? I think that's a fun landing spot. Buffalo is going to be talked about in that same realm as well, with them being in a situation where they don't have a true number one on the roster for the second straight year. So there's a lot of teams that will be in the mix. We'll see, but yeah, DK the DK Metcalf trade is certainly going to be one that gets largely monitored. I don't know, Green Bay as well. If the
Green
Seahawks
Bay is
want,
another one that I
yeah,
think they've been linked to DK Metcalf, but I don't think they want to pay the. I think Seattle's asking for a first round pick for DK Metcalf, and they're
which
out their minds. But I think the Packers could use a guy like DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
They could use someone with a little bit of aggression. They could use somebody who can be that explosiveness downfield without missing a lot of games, and someone who's a little more reliable than the guys they have on the field. And again, that kind of opens up everybody else to do a little bit more. The Packers have a whole lot of good number 2 and number 3 receivers, but they don't have a 1. I think DK can be the 1, opening up everybody else to be very good 2s and 3s. And without Christian Watson, they don't have a lot of that verticality. I think a very, very this makes a lot of sense when you talk about DK Metcalf trade destinations is the Dallas Cowboys. And I know
that's a good shout.
we
Yeah.
get tired of talking about the Cowboys and all this because Cowboys just don't pay people outside of their building. But this is the trade that Jerry Jones would make. It is for a guy like DK Metcalf who can open up stuff vertically and be that outside receiver that they've been missing, allowing CeeDee Lamb to kind of operate in between in the slot, and it lets you be more explosive. They need some juice in that offense, and I think DK is the perfect guy to bring that. I think the Jaguars should be all over this when it comes to just getting some more depth at the position, but there's a whole lot of teams that should do this for DK Metcalf. There are also a lot of teams that probably should shy away.
Yeah, the Seahawks saying that they want a 1 and a 3 for DK Metcalf is like me saying
Nonsense.
It's like me saying I would love to live happily ever after with Liv Morgan. It's cool to want things that you'll never get. So kudos to them for being like, yeah, what the hell? We'll see what if there is somebody who would pay that. I don't think that there will be, but wherever he gets dealt, there's plenty of landing spots that make a lot of sense. Next guy on my list, Carlton Davis, probably the top cornerback outside of DJ Reed, available in the free agent market. The team that I wrote down is the Washington Commanders, team with a lot of money to spend. They took a swing last year on Marshawn Lattimore. Didn't necessarily work out the way they would have thought. He was dealing with an injury, and he was very up and down when he was playing, especially in the NFC title game. So I think that they go back to the well, try to add another cornerback to that defensive backfield that needs more depth, but also just more high-end talent as well. They got the money to spend. Go get Carlton Davis to help shore up the back end of your defense.
So for me with Carlton Davis, I also said the Jacksonville Jaguars.
There
if
you go.
Think about what the Jaguars need and what they want in their corners. They want physical guys. They want guys who can press at the line of scrimmage. Anthony Campanile comes from the Packers, and while they don't play the same amount of man coverage as the Jaguars did last year, a lot of it is very cover 2 dependent, very press man or in press coverage. You want to disrupt the receiver at the line of scrimmage, and Carlton Davis is a very good disruptor. I think the Jaguars just need some stability at that second cornerback spot. Tyson Campbell's good when he's healthy. I think Carlton Davis is proven to be a good player when he's healthy, and I think that it will make a lot of sense for the Jaguars to make this kind of deal, especially when you look at their cornerback depth. It's just not great. I'm not going to say where it's bad. We've seen when the second corner goes down, Buster Brown fills in. Ronald Darby wasn't what they expected him to be. It just didn't look very good next to Tyson Campbell to an extent where at one point during the season, the Jaguars were top 10 in DVOA, giving up to number 1 receivers. And then in the bottom 3, when it comes to DVOA, giving up to number 2 receivers. And that is that's what you need to know for the Jaguars. And it gives you the ability, if you don't like any of the corners at 5, if Travis Hunter is gone, you don't have to force it because you already have a guy.
No, I like that as well. And, we're talking about our teams here. I think the Steelers would also make sense for Carlton Davis. Dante Jackson's not going to be in their long-term plans, even though he had a bunch of interceptions last year, another guy who was pretty inconsistent. And they need somebody opposite of Joey Porter Jr. to be that boundary starter. Um, th- on top of that, they need just more depth in the room. So even if they were to sign a high-end guy like Davis or DJ Reed, I would expect them to go back to the well and try to get somebody at nickel. And just some more guys to put behind him as well, maybe in the draft. Nate Hobbs is another name that's been linked to Pittsburgh in this deeper cornerback room. So there's a lot of guys at that position in specific that are going to get some nice paydays. I mean, if we're talking about the cornerback room, DJ Reed, Travarius Ward, is there certain landing spots for those guys that you like?
I honestly think DJ Reed should re-sign with the Jets. I just think it makes too much sense for the Jets to pay him, especially when you're going into a new era with a head coach and you already have a lot of holes to fill in other spots. I think keeping that cornerback duo of Reed and Sauce Gardner makes too much sense. It's critical, to have a guy like that on your roster. I think when it comes to Charvarius Ward, it's a little tricky because Ward's getting up there in age.
Yep.
You're thinking about, the implications with bringing in an older cornerback. I think a team like the Panthers makes a lot of sense. They need somebody next to JC Horn. Like I think they just need somebody on defense next to JC Horn and Derek Brown. So
apparently Javon Holland is loving it. He saw some breweries down there. It's like, oh man, Carolina. Let's go there.
Nice breweries. It's a nice, quiet town. Got a lot of diversity there.
Charlotte's a great city, and I think that alone would bring in somebody at least.
Great city, good vibes. I think Charvarius Ward would love that, getting across the country, and he fits a need for the Panthers, so they can go and address the front lines like they enjoyed last season.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. Let's talk about Joey Bosa. Is it like a foregone conclusion that he's going to join the 49ers and we're going to call their pass rush duo the Republican National Convention? Is that what's going to happen?
I have wanted to call them so many names that would get me into a meeting with my bosses, but I think that this is obviously a 49er. Like, I think that with what the Niners have done swinging and missing on guys opposite of Nick Bosa, it just makes too much sense to go out and just bring his brother in on like a 1-2 year deal to see what happens. I don't think Joey is the Joey Bosa of old.
He's just hurt too many times.
He's hurt too many times. I think the explosiveness has been kind of sapped, but he's still technically proficient. Like, he is still a very good technical pass rusher with hand swipes, counters, and he still has the high motor, the power still left in his hands. He would be a really nice upgrade for them on that defensive front. I also think a team like the Packers makes a lot of sense when it comes to the body types that they like up front. Maybe they try and get a little faster, a little more bendier with Jeff Hafley still being there, but they enjoy big guys out on the edge, and I think Joey Bosa fits that bill.
Yeah, I'm putting someone opposite of Edgerrin Cooper, I think, would be a great addition for Green Bay at that point too. So, whatever deal he does get, though, I think it's going to be, cheap on the cap, very incentive based, just in terms of how many games he would play, and then other stuff like sacks, type, etc. But I think it would be a very incentive based type deal where teams know what they're getting into when they get into bed with Joey Bosa. It's like, all right, man, like, you're talented, but you got to stay on the field. So we'll give you more money if you play X amount of games. And I feel like that's going to be kind of a sticking point for a deal. His former teammate with the Chargers, Khalil Mack, I think that Buffalo is a team to watch for here. He played college at Buffalo. The Bills have needed like a dominant edge rusher since Josh Allen was drafted. They just haven't found one. They tried to do a Von Miller, and for like 8 weeks that worked when they first signed him, and then he tore his ACL and hasn't been the same since. More than likely going to be a post June 1 cut. So bringing a guy like Khalil Mack to be a veteran presence who can still get to the quarterback, even at a little bit of an older age. He's not going to cost a whole ton. So I think that's a move that can make sense for the Bills just to try to upgrade at pass rusher.
I think Khalil Mack would be a really nice fit with the Bills. I also think the Falcons could use a guy like that. I think he's a little bit of a different player than Matthew Judon, but he fits more of what Jeff Ulbrich is going to bring. to that defense. I also think that there's no reason why the Chargers should let Khalil Mack leave, because if you let Khalil leave, you have Tuli Pelotu, and then a whole bunch of, I don't know, and maybe Bud Dupree. Like, you get into a whole bunch of hypotheticals, you know. I think that Khalil Mack makes a whole lot of sense to be retained by the Chargers. I think he wants to remain a Charger, but it comes down to that price point, that what they're asking for. I also think that the Niners make a lot of sense for Khalil Mack. If they want to just go instant boost instead of going for a guy like Joey Bosa, who they can get on a bargain, Khalil Mack is someone they can spend on and really turn up that pass rush a lot.
Josh Sweat is the next guy on my list. I said New England. I think that for a defense that has a lot of potential and still has some juice, I think they lost a little bit of it last year with players that they sent away. But Josh Sweat's going to get a nice payday and going to a place like New England, again, who I think is going to be one of those teams this year where even if they don't make the playoffs, they'll be like one of those teams between 7 and 9 wins that are a pain in the ass to play every week. Drake May is going to keep getting better. If you can get a guy like Josh Sweat to, come off the edge, help build your defense around, I think that would be a nice pickup.
I'm going with the New Orleans Saints. I think obviously the Saints cap situation is what it is.
It's that every year though, so I'm not even taking that into account when it comes to this type of stuff.
Yeah, but I think the Saints have a desperate need on the edge. Chase Young is a free agent. I believe Taylor Passon is a free agent. Carl Granderson is coming off of an injury. They need some more juice off the edge, and I think Josh Sweat can provide that, especially in a defense that's like Brandon Staley's, where he can be more of a stand-up edge. I think he kind of fits that need. He did that in Philadelphia. It makes a whole lot of sense for the Saints to go out and get an edge like Sweat who can help with their pass rush, especially opposite Cam Jordan, and also kind of be the bridge between the old Saints and the new Saints, because it feels like they're about to cross that bridge.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of their playmakers defensively are on the older side. Cam Jordan, you mentioned, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, Paulson Adebo set to be a free agent. So, like, a lot of guys that might be on their way out of New Orleans, and we could see a lot of change. A rebuild that's like 4 years too late, but nonetheless looks like it's starting. And if you can get a guy like Josh Sweat, that's a great pickup for a team that's going to be going through a lot of changes. Let's talk about some quarterbacks, though. The more time goes by, the more I think Sam Darnold's staying in Minnesota. There's reports that they're trying to maybe work on a deal to bring him back. They didn't tag him, but I don't know. I think that where there's smoke, there's fire. And with this, I understand the drafting at J.J. McCarthy last year. I'm not going to pretend to know everything about J.J. McCarthy or that I watched every snap of his in college. Even then, I don't think that there was a lot there that like blew me away personally. But if you're the Vikings coming off a year that they just came off of and Sam played largely well, it would make sense to want to bring him back, even if it's with the agreement of it's going to be, a competition going into training camp and everything. So I don't know. I think that all of this, there's mutual interest in bringing Sam back and whatnot. I think that all that smoke leads to a fire and he stays in Minnesota for the year.
I agree, but I have a lot of questions about why Minnesota would do this.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Unless they think J.J. McCarthy is further behind in his recovery from that, that knee injury than they really believe. Sam Darnold's really weird. Like, I just think that I thought he would command more money on the market given what he did last season, but he had a really bad end to last season. That's probably scaring a lot of teams off. I just think that the Vikings doing this, you invite more controversy. Like, the minute, if you do decide to start JJ and he's fine, JJ starts week 1, the minute he doesn't play well, Sam Darnold is going to make it a problem. Sam Darnold's going to be there. And the minute Sam Darnold doesn't play well, it's like everybody wants the kid, and you create so much more chaos. To me, I think the best place for Sam Darnold is honestly the Cleveland Browns.
I would agree.
I don't think that Deshaun is going to play a snap for the Browns ever again. And then outside of that,
take a step further. I don't think Deshaun's playing a snap period ever again.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing football again.
Yeah.
I think that Stefanski's a good enough play caller to have a guy like Sam Darnold and get the most out of him. And it also frees up what they can do with the second pick in the draft. You know, like you don't have to force yourself into a quarterback this year. You can let Sam Darnold play. And if he's good, cool. We can work with this. If not, you're probably going to end up in the same spot that you are this year. And you can go draft one of the quarterbacks in the class that has more promise. I just am a little confused on why I understand why Sam would want to go back to Minnesota, but I don't understand why Minnesota would want to bring him back on a discount deal because that's what Daniel Jones was for, you know, unless they just think Daniel Jones stinks, which
makes sense.
Doesn't surprise me. It would not surprise me at all, but I'm curious about this entire thing with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I think that Cleveland would make sense because obviously we've seen Stefanski have success with several quarterbacks over the past couple of years. Obviously, the Joe Flacco run, winning games with PJ Walker and Jameis Winston. So, like, he's shown that if you just have any semblance of capability of playing quarterback, that you can win games with him calling plays. And then we saw the line of quarterbacks that we saw the clear line in the sand is okay. You can win with Joe Flacco. Okay. Bailey Zappi, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Absolutely the hell not. All right. So Sam Darnold's clearly better than those guys. And I think that if he's brought in, they'll have at least some semblance of competitiveness compared to last year where they were just getting boat raced and there was no offensive firepower whatsoever just because the quarterback play was so bad. So I think that it does make a lot of sense to bring in Sam to Cleveland. I think that in terms of the landing spots, that is one that makes a lot of sense. I think Indianapolis would also make sense because, like, we've seen Shane Steichen have success with plenty of guys before. And when you look at the Anthony Richardson situation, I think that a lot of people, myself included, looked far more at the just raw talent that he had and said, all right, man, like, they did a lot with Gardner Minshew. If he can just be that, they'll be successful. But we also saw games where it's like, oh, man, Anthony Richardson's 12 of 30 right now. That's not great. So I think that somebody like Sam Darnold could come in, win that job, and then you figure out what to do with Anthony Richardson after the fact. But I think that he could have success with Shane Steichen as a play caller. The pieces that they have in place offensively there, I think that would make a little bit of sense.
I also don't know why the Colts would do that. You know, from everything that I have read, everything that I have heard, they are fully of the belief that Anthony Richardson is their QB1. Of course, adding competition.
Good for him. Yeah.
Like just light a fire under him makes sense. But bringing in Sam Darnold for, I don't know how much Sam Darnold's going to command from a team that's not the Vikings. I also wonder how good of a fit he is in Indy, considering how much of their offense is built on the QB run game. Like, I think a lot of people, like, of course, I'm not going to say Anthony Richardson played well last season, but I also think he took some of the most difficult throws in the league last year because every pass was 60 yards downfield.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know if Sam Darnold is... I don't think Sam Darnold is the guy that you want to use to replace Anthony Richardson, considering he doesn't have the QB run game ability. And he also is going to be mistake prone on those downfield passes. Initially, my thought was a team like the Raiders would make a lot of sense, but we're probably going to get to a quarterback that's going to go to the Raiders, like basically a lock. But maybe the Giants, if he wants to go back to New York. I get it. I don't think he's going to go back to the Jets, but
oh no,
the Giants, I don't know. Like, the quarterback market is a little thin right now.
No,
like, it's
definitely
really thin.
100%. Let's talk about the quarterback that'll go to the Raiders. Are we both thinking it's Aaron Rodgers at this point? Because it just makes sense to me.
No.
Who do you think?
I was thinking Russell Wilson.
Nah, dude, I think that's not happening. I
think it's happening. I think Pete and Russ I think those bridges have been built back together. It's the unction, baby. We're getting everybody back together. We're getting our old flames back. I think Russ makes so much sense in terms of what they want to be, in terms of building up this team to eventually take the next step with somebody that isn't Pete Carroll. So if you bring in Russ as your starter, you can still draft the quarterback at 6 and let him sit behind Russ until Russ shows that he is still Russell Wilson, and let the young guy play. I don't think you can do that with Aaron Rodgers. You might want to, but Aaron Rodgers is not going to have that. And Aaron Rodgers is not going to mentor a guy. What makes you think Aaron Rodgers is going to mentor?
I think he will. I mean, he seemed to do okay with Jordan Love.
No, that's not mentoring. He was pissed. He did not want it.
But hey, at every chance he gets to say something nice about Jordan Love, he seems to do it. I don't know. I think that was a little bit. I think Rodgers makes sense. I think it. Go ahead.
It makes sense, but I also think that Rodgers makes a little bit more sense somewhere else.
Okay.
I think Rodgers makes so much more sense in Tennessee.
I think he has a house in Nashville, doesn't he? Does he have some sort of residency there?
It makes so much sense for the Titans to do this because he is the complete polar opposite of what Will Levis is.
Sure.
Like in terms of a guy who's mistake prone, too mercurial, gonna make a lot of bad decisions. Aaron Rodgers' body besets him at this point in his career, but he still is capable of making very good decisions and being sort of a point guard in offense, kind of like what Brian Callahan worked with Joe Burrow. And again, it frees up your possibilities with the first overall pick. You don't have to force yourself to take a quarterback. Like they have said before, like we're not going to force a quarterback when generational talents are on the board, which makes me think they don't want to pick the quarterback.
Yeah,
they would love to just pick Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter and call it a day. But I also think that means you have to find a quarterback in free agency, which lends me to believe that it's either going to be Aaron Rodgers or Sam Darnold.
I think with the Rodgers situation, much like previous situations with veteran quarterbacks with reputations that precede them, you have to have a head coach in place that is one of the better in the NFL, has long-standing reputation of respect and things of that nature. We saw how it worked out in Denver with Russ and Nate Hackett. The next year with Sean Payton was better, but obviously those two just didn't work personality-wise. I don't know if Brian Callahan is capable of handling something like Aaron Rodgers. I think that Pete Carroll would be far more qualified and respected by Rodgers to be like, all right, I'll let myself be coached by Pete. If Brian Callahan tells Aaron Rodgers something, I could completely see a situation where it's like, the fuck does this guy think he is? I'm Aaron fucking Rodgers and he's Brian Callahan. Like, I think that is a real thing where you have to have a good head coach in place to be able to negate that. That's why I think like if the Steelers were to go that route, it would make sense because him and Tomlin like each other a lot. He respects
they
Tomlin.
have a lot of respect for each other.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that Tennessee, the only thing that would hold me back is the lack of like a upper tier, long respected head coach in place there, where I think that it wouldn't necessarily work from that aspect. I think Vegas makes sense because obviously Pete Carroll's there. They seem to be turning some sort of corner in the terms of, okay, Spytek seems to be doing a solid job. Brady's more involved with the organization now. Obviously the head coaching change that just paid Max Crosby. They aren't a quarterback away, but I think that Rodgers would talk himself into going there in terms of just finding a spot to end his career where he could at least go out on a high note.
I also think it's fair to ask, does Chip Kelly want to work with Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, man.
I think those two people would just not mesh at all. I don't think they would like each other very much. I do understand the Rodgers to Vegas. I think, like you said, the rapport with Pete Carroll makes a lot of sense. You can kind of like see him being like the veteran leader that they need. But I also don't think that stops you from taking a quarterback at 6.
Yeah.
So I get it, but I also think that Tennessee just makes more sense in terms of like, I don't know. In my head, it's just like, yeah, that's a Tennessee Titan because all the Wash players go to Tennessee.
Oh man, yeah, that's also a very good point. What old they're gonna sign Aaron Rodgers and then Keenan
Devontae Adams
or Devontae Adams too.
Adams
I have a different landing spot for Devontae Adams, assuming that he doesn't go where Aaron Rodgers does, although that's always a possibility. I said the Rams for Devontae Adams.
It makes so much sense.
It's so much sense, man. He wants to be on the West Coast. They're a team that they're trading Cooper Kupp. They need somebody else to come in and complement Puka Nacua. Stafford staying. That would be so much fun to watch, and I think it makes too much sense to not happen.
I was going to go with the other team in LA, the Chargers.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to easy separation, Devontae Adams can still do that. While he's not as explosive as he used to be, I think in terms of creating separation, he and Lad McConkey would play really well off of each other. And again, I think the way that the Chargers offense is built, they are built to be explosive with the run game and sort of more meticulous with the passing game. So if you have these two guys who can be a little more quick in terms of separation in the short to intermediate areas. You give Justin Herbert another outlet. You can't just double Lad McConkey anymore. It just makes too much sense for them to go out and get an established veteran receiver.
Yeah, I think anywhere, both the Chargers and Rams make sense, especially with the things that he wants. I also think if Rodgers goes to Vegas, it's very possible Devontae Adams goes back to Vegas, and they just reunite those two again and have a reunite in Vegas as well with Devontae. So I think that's also on the table. I don't know, Devontae Adams. Not to say that he doesn't want to win. I don't think that is true at all. I think that there are certainly other factors that he takes into consideration more than that, though. We've seen a lot of receivers do that, though, where DeAndre Hopkins could have gone to a team like Buffalo or Kansas City before he signed with Tennessee and took more money to go to Tennessee, which is fine. Get as much money as you can. But I think for especially like the receiver position, they seem to value, all right, how much can I make? And where's the location at in terms of can I enjoy myself in that city? Maybe a little bit more than winning. So I could see Devontae Adams also choosing a team completely out of left field as well when it comes to that.
Oh, yeah. I think Devontae Adams, of course, we're going to link him to Aaron Rodgers because they're friends.
Right.
We're also going to link him to the New Orleans Saints because he and Derek Carr are friends.
Yeah.
That also makes a lot of sense, honestly. Chris Olave can't stay healthy. Rashid Shaheed's coming off torn ACL. Mason Tipton is a person. He is definitely a receiver in the NFL.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling,
who just showed up and was like the Saints' best receiver for like
hilarious.
2 weeks. But that makes a lot of sense, I think, for Carr and Devontae to have that rapport as Chris Olave comes back, as Rashid Shaheed comes back and kind of rounds out that receiver room. But I honestly think that the best spot for Devontae Adams is anywhere where Aaron Rodgers is not.
Oh, I agree, 100%. Yeah, there's got to be some sort of like separation of church and state there. Where like, yeah, you can be buds, but doesn't mean that you have to go everywhere he goes. So yeah, I would agree on that front. Is there any other guys that we haven't named yet that you think would be good to talk about in terms of potential fits?
What do the Steelers do at quarterback? I have my guess. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it.
They want Fields. The problem is that his agent, David Mulgeta, definitely wants him to hit the free agent market. And if anybody listening knows anything about David Mulgeta and how he goes about, he's going to try to get as much money for his clients as humanly possible. And on the Steelers end, like if it comes down to like a couple $1 million, you have the 7th most cap space in the NFL. Don't be dumb here. Just give him the money that he wants. You got the ability to pay it. A 2-year deal for whatever the money is that he is just trying to get, and then do whatever you can to put as much talent around him as humanly possible. And then you can at least say, all right, we brought in this 26-year-old, brought him back because he was in the system last year. We gave him a chance to show that he's our guy. If he is, that's great. Then you have, a Baker Mayfield-esque situation where you bring in a journeyman and he ends up finding a home and succeeding. And if it doesn't, then at least you can try drafting a guy in 2026, moving up in the draft to take a guy to be your future quarterback with pieces around him already. I think running it back with Russ is just waving the white flag. We saw what that looked like last year, where sure, there was nice peaks, but at the end, it just completely fell apart. So I think they want Fields. Russ is still an option as like a number 2. If he goes elsewhere, I think that they would turn their attention to someone like Aaron Rodgers. If I had to guess, it'll be Fields because that's who they want. But I could certainly see Art Rooney being the cheap owner that he is, not bending the knee and giving Justin Fields what he wants, and then they end up bringing back Russ, and I hate my life for a year.
Yeah, I just think that this screams like the Steelers want Fields, and I also think Fields wants the Steelers.
100%. I think
that's
that's
to be their quarterback. It makes a lot of sense, as a guy who fits what they can do and what they can't do on offense. I think he also might have felt some type of way about being usurped by Russ, which at the time made sense. I don't think either guy played good enough to go, yep, that's our guy. But always bet on the younger dude in free agency. Certainly. Because if it works, you have your quarterback. If not, you're in the same place. You can go get a guy. I think it just makes more sense for the Steelers to go after Fields than go after any of the other veterans out there.
Yeah,
unless you think Arthur Smith can maximize Sam Darnold, which why would Sam Darnold want to go to the Steelers?
Yeah. I think that it makes sense for all parties involved just to bring Fields back. And like you said, he didn't set the world on fire in the 6 games that he started, but there were plays there where it's like, all right, that's why they brought him in. Obviously, the dual threat ability that he has. They made the switch to Russ because they wanted a little bit more in the passing game, and he does give you a little bit more than Fields does in that area. But yeah, like you said, it's the same thing I've been saying all offseason. I would rather try things out with a 26-year-old who we don't know if he's the future or not. We can have our thoughts about whether we think he is or not, but we won't know until he gets an entire season in that offense to show whether he is or not. We know that Russell Wilson is not the future. So I would rather them at least try something new, bring back Fields, who, by the way, you are correct. He would definitely want to stay in Pittsburgh because he's had each year of his career has been a new offense, a bunch of new head coaches. I think some stability for a young quarterback who's gone through that much already is the best for him. And as much as, as much as the Steelers frustrate me, they are a very buttoned up organization who are very stable. At least Mike Tomlin's a good leader of men. And I think that he enjoys playing for Mike Tomlin too. So I think Justin Fields would prefer to stay in Pittsburgh. It just comes down to the money side of things. And, after that, if they do sign Fields, then it's all right, go get another receiver and at least put weapons around him that aren't, Van Jefferson and Ben Skoranek. Maybe that would be a good start to help him out. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting the notification that they've re-signed Justin Fields. And from there, we see what happens throughout the rest of the season. But hopefully that's what they end up doing.
Yeah, I think it just makes too much sense either way for both guys.
Where's Daniel Jones go? I think Indy. If they're going to be in competition, I think that the perfect thing that you can do to make a quarterback feel confident is put him next to Daniel Jones. Be like, all right, I know I'm better than him. That's good.
I mean, Indy makes the most sense, but I also think that in this hypothetical where Sam Darnold does go back to Minnesota, does Daniel Jones want a chance to start again? Because if he does, then
any team that gives Daniel Jones the chance to start again should fire everybody on the spot.
Maybe the Jets. I don't know.
Oh God,
I don't know if he wants New York again.
Bro, you have Tyrod Taylor. He's better than I think that they just roll with Tyrod this year. Honestly, I think that makes if Justin Fields doesn't end up going there, I think Tyrod just gets in it. Which, by the way, all four love Tyrod Taylor.
I don't know if he wants New York again. Indy makes a lot of sense when it comes to a competitive backup. Again, the QB market is really dry.
Not good. It's not good.
It is really dry. Maybe Cleveland. If he
does he pull like what everybody else has done and just go be Stafford's backup with the Rams?
I thought about that, but I think that the Rams want to go young. And while Daniel Jones isn't exactly washed or ancient, he's not
watching the fact that he's not good.
He's watching the fact that he's not good, not old. But I think they're wanting someone younger. I think they're going to go rookie.
Okay, I could see. Okay, is that the Jackson Dart landing spot?
Oh, I hope not. Ill. Oh God, no. I was thinking Tyler Shuck, which again I use young.
Yeah,
relatively because Matthew Stafford is 37. Tyler Shuck is 25.
Yeah,
but he's younger than Matt Stafford. So
what? Okay, we can talk draft real quick before we get into the wrestling thing. What everybody seems to have one take or the other about Jackson Dart. From what I have seen, he gives me a lot of Zach Wilson-y vibes, where he's got a big arm, but all the other stuff is very questionable. What camp do you fall in with Dart?
It's really hard to be an NFL quarterback when you're late on every read in a one-read hyper baby bullshit offense. That is all I'm going to say.
Did you see what he said during the Senior Bowl media availability?
Oh, no, I didn't.
I was at his presser, and he said something about I don't know why everybody's so critical of the offense. It's, there's a lot of NFL type stuff in there where I had to make multiple reads and whatnot. I didn't know, but dude, you would know better than I. I'm not going to pretend I watched Ole Miss football every Saturday. So I thought
that is the most beanie baby offense I've ever seen.
That's why I'm very hesitant because there's a lot of Steelers fans that are talking about the Tennessee kid at quarterback in 2026, and I was like, bro, that is
Maliava?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he leaves.
Oh yeah,
I don't think he comes out next season. He was not good this year.
Yeah, that's the thing. Tennessee, even I know enough to know that Tennessee's offense is 4 plays and it's screens and deep balls galore. There's not really any sort of NFL aspect to that offense. I'm totally cool on ever taking a Tennessee quarterback.
Yeah, no, not while Josh Heupel's there.
Yeah.
ban that offense.
Ban that offense. All right. Final call for free agents / trade targets. We talked about Garrett on previous shows, so I didn't want to go too deep into that. I'll pull up a list real quick. I think that we covered most of the big ones.
I do think Chris Godwin stays in Tampa. I think in my head, there's nowhere else Chris Godwin can be except for Tampa.
Hey, I'll take him in Pittsburgh.
That it just doesn't make sense for Chris Godwin or the Bucks to go their separate ways in terms of how important he is to that offense and how important like he is to that franchise. He and Mike Evans are Bucks lifers. Like it just wouldn't make sense. But I also love Chris Godwin and I love the offense that he's in. It just makes too much sense. If he does leave, Liam Cohen and the Jaguars.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Got a spot for you because Gabe Davis is not it.
He sure is not, which was so funny last year whenever like a lot of like media folks were like, oh man, Gabe Davis, big loss for the Bills. I'm like, brother.
No.
Like I did the Rock touching Cody's shoulder thing.
People got mad at me for saying that Gabe Davis got paid like 3 times more than Matt Collins for Matt Collins to be a better version of Gabe Davis.
Which he was absolutely in every way.
He was just better Gabe Davis. He was a better blocker. He was better on special teams. He was better as a
receiver. Like he
I want Gabe Davis to be a part of the DK Metcalf trade. Get him out of here.
Okay.
Get him out of here. You want a first round pick? No. How about a third and Gabe Davis?
Oh God. That's almost like, all right, we'll give you a second, but you have to take Gabe Davis if we give you a second. I feel like that's almost like
you here, take him. We don't want him.
Yeah.
But Godwin makes a lot of sense there if he does leave, but I really don't think he leaves. I also think the Chiefs are going to get aggressive for Ronnie Stanley.
Yeah, 100%. I think that they're going to do something similar to what they did after the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, where they just completely revamped their offensive line because it was so bad. They don't have to do it so much now because they still have Creed Humphrey. They just paid Trey Smith, but trading away Joe Tooney. Go ahead.
The issue is Kingsley Suamataia is at left guard, who is
not good, man.
Who played tackle, came out as a tackle, was not good at tackle.
Yeah,
has only been playing guard in practice leading up to the Super Bowl and during the playoff run. As much as I think they should go youth at tackle, I don't know if they're going to want to put a young guy at left tackle next to a young guy who's never played guard in an NFL game before.
I think Cam Robinson's a name that they target because I think that that's something where it's like, okay, we don't need like a super duper elite guy. We just need a dude who isn't going to be a swinging door every play. And I think that Cam Robinson can be that.
Yeah, Cam Robinson makes sense. I think DJ Humphries got hurt. So maybe they kick the door on DJ Humphries again. Milton Williams going to be a Patriot.
Fully convinced on that.
Fully convinced on that. It makes too much sense.
I wouldn't be shocked to see the Bears just complete the infinity gauntlet of redoing their entire interior and signing Ryan Kelly. I think that would be a good move on their end. I
think Drew Dahlman makes more sense at center. I think Ryan Kelly is a little washed.
Okay.
I just don't think that he is. I don't think he's going to be able to play very much. So I think the Jaguars and the Bears are going to be in a little bidding war for Drew Dahlman. Will Fry's going to get a lot of money.
Yeah.
Guard from the Colts. His play strength is a little shaky, but the movement skills make a lot of sense for teams that run a lot of zone, a lot of the Shanahan outside zone stuff. Javon Holland is going to get a big market.
That is one player I'm very excited to see where he goes. Obviously, we talked about him a little bit because of potential interest in Carolina. As a guy who covers the Bills a lot, man, what a steal that would be to take him away from Miami and put him on the back end. I like Taylor Rapp. I think that, and they drafted Cole Bishop last year to end up being a future starter. But if you can have a 3 safety set of Javon Holland, Taylor Rapp, and Cole Bishop, that is very, very good.
I talked about it with Anthony on his show. The Bills need athleticism.
Yeah,
in the secondary, they are too slow. Like especially at safety. Taylor Rapp is a fine player, but he is slow. Damar Hamlin, great player in the box.
He ain't coming back to Buffalo.
I don't think he's also coming back.
He's such a Steeler, and I can see it coming from a mile away.
Yeah, so like they need some athleticism. They need speed. They need juice, and I think Javon Holland brings that to that team.
I would love to see it. There's another guy who I just scrolled past, and I was trying to Did I miss out? Oh Lord, this is on the fly type of podcasting. Oh, Marquise Brown. I think he's a Bill. I think that Josh Allen has mentioned multiple times that he would like to play with Marquise Brown, free agent guy who can, like, if they don't get like a big fish like DK, or if they don't trade for somebody else like a Cortland Sutton or something, I think Marquise Brown could be like a fine number one in that offense. Somebody who can, stretch the field, but also, take the quick passes and get some extra yards. I think that he would be a fine signing.
It makes sense. I wonder how he meshes with a guy like Khalil Shakir, who both might operate better in the slot. So I think they need a more of an outside receiver.
Hey, Cortland Sutton, that's a guy who's going to get dealt, I believe.
I think Darius Slayton makes more sense.
Darius Slayton could be good
when it comes to speed on the outside and that verticality, because he is the one thing that they don't really have on the outside, which is that explosiveness. Keon Coleman's more of a power forward. Mac Hollins is not fast. And Khalil Shakir does all the stuff from the slot, from the inside. I think that they need Slayton to kind of build layers to this offense. I think they have a whole bunch of guys that you will understand this reference as a Bulls fan. They have a whole bunch of DeMar DeRozans on this team. Everybody occupies that mid-range area or the short area, but nobody can shoot threes.
Yeah.
And that's what they need. They need a three-point shooter. And I think Darius Slayton can be that.
I think that's a really good way to put that. And a good place to close it out. Let's talk about wrestling theme songs. Yeah, this is a good draft to do. All right. I have no prep in this whatsoever, but there's certainly ones that I do love that I plan on taking. But as always, I'll let you start.
I'm going to start with, there's so many that I want to go with.
So many good ones.
In the name of playing this draft, I'm going to go with Metalingus.
Yeah, it's a.
I have pick. I have to go with him with the first pick. I have like a mental board, and I was like, if I'm picking first, I got to get Metalingus, and then I can build everything else from there.
That's good. I'll just take the obvious one. I'll take Stone Cold.
That's a good one.
Glass shattering. Everybody always pops for it. Easy one.
All right, my second one, Batista. I Walk Alone. One of my favorite theme songs. It's an incredible gym song too.
Oh, 100%.
You turn that on the gym, you are PRing. instant PR juice.
I like that. The next one I'm going to take. Oh, there's so many. I'm gonna take Bobby Roode, Glorious.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Yeah, it's so good.
When I had the WWE, I think it was 2K20 with Bobby Roode in it, and it would always open with Bobby Roode's songs.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh yeah, that's the good stuff.
It's the best.
All right, my third round pick, incredible value here. It's Basic Thugonomics, the best WWE theme song of all time.
Oh,
Basic Thugonomics.
It's good. That's good. Oh man, great value for me too. I'm gonna take Brian Danis on the Final Countdown.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
When he came out at Wembley, wrestling doesn't make me emotional a lot. Airing an entire 80,000 person crowd and what was obviously his final run before he winning the title and everything. I was getting into it. It was good, man. Very good.
Hearing the crowd get into it makes it really good.
Yeah.
Fourth round pick for me, I gotta go with Mark Henry.
Yeah, that's fair.
Kind of get their ass kicked. It's 3-6 Mafia, man. It's
so
3-6
good,
Mafia
man.
Song.
Oh, it's so very few themes fit the wrestler better than 3-6 Mafia and Mark Henry.
As a kid, I was sure that Mark Henry was in there rapping.
Oh, dude! I thought Edge sang Metalingus. I thought Triple H sang The Game. I thought
Big Show was in there yelling. I thought Big Show was in there just hollering. I was like, what are you doing in there, big man?
Paul, all right. Jesus.
I didn't know you had a voice on you.
I thought CM Punk was going really hard on This Fire Burns.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Is This Fire Burns going to... No. Mine's going to be voices, Randy Orton.
Oh, I know I'm going to get you with this one.
Oh, no.
Fifth round pick. Come on.
Damn
Come
it.
on. I taught my girlfriend the Jeff Hardy dance the other day. He popped up on NXT, and I'm like, you got to understand.
Yeah.
Jeff Hardy in 2008, 2009.
Bigger than Obama.
Like he was one of the most popular people of all time.
Just the most popular. He was the Mount Rushmore of just people that everyone loves. Jeff Hardy is on it.
Jeff Hardy's on it. Jeff Hardy and Stone Cold. I don't know nobody that don't like Stone Cold. I don't know nobody that don't like Jeff Hardy. Randy Orton. I talk about this all the time. Randy Orton, because you said voices. 2009 Randy Orton is one of the biggest supervillains of all time.
Absolutely.
Like Batman couldn't beat 2009 Randy Orton. Not you put Randy Orton in Gotham, Batman is not getting him out of here.
Oh, it's so good. Everything about that era was great. My fifth pick, I'm gonna take a personal favorite, and I'm gonna take Kenny Omega Battle Cry.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one. I kind of like the New Japan theme more.
New Japan one's good too. I prefer Battle Cry, but the New Japan one does rule.
Any theme song with words is automatically gonna get love from me.
100%. Yeah.
Like I think, and I've gotten a lot of heat for this. I think The Game is Triple H's best theme song.
Who gives you heat for that?
Because people love My Time. But I think the game fits Triple H. Like it's so good.
Oh, you know what one I love? I'm kind of mad I didn't pick it, but there's so many good ones. Christians when he came back to WWE. Kicks ass.
Oh, it's a banger. A banger. I think Chris Jericho's Break the Walls.
Oh, no. Okay.
No, I'm tired.
Judas.
I'm tired.
We haven't heard Judas in like 2 years because he's been doing this learning tree stuff.
I know. That's why it's crazy that I'm still tired of it. I'm tired of the song, man. Break the Walls.
Break the Walls sounds good.
Favorites.
Yeah. Shinsuke Nakamura, like his original one in NXT with the violins, great.
Oh my God, incredible. When the crowd was singing with him, I think Lil Uzi Vert actually sampled.
Yeah, he has a song called Nakamura. Yeah,
like it's incredible. Kofi Kingston, SOS.
Oh,
had me convinced that man was in there on that reggae time. Not even Jamaican, but I think that song is awesome.
That's fun. That's a very fun pick. Kurt Angle's is fun. Like
oh yeah,
the crowd adds the words to his, but it's so fun.
But it's become iconic. Oh, I can't believe I forgot this one. Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
Like
lie, cheat, steal. Great.
It's so good.
Yeah. So perfect for him too. Like that's.
Oh yeah. Like, it's crazy that song spanned over heel and face turns.
Yeah.
It was just Eddie.
It just worked. Rey Mysterio's original WWE theme,
who's that jumping out the sky? Are you
yes.
That's a good one. I kind of like the Booyaka 619.
I don't love Booyaka 619. I think it's kind of shit. If I'm being honest, I don't like it.
I get it, but I just think it just kind of makes for me, my formative years of pro wrestling were in the years that he used Booyaka 619.
Sure.
So that's how I remember Ray. Like I do remember the first 619 song, but it hits different. Do you remember Aleister Black's NXT theme?
That was good.
That was so good.
That was good. I was gonna say
that was incredible.
I was gonna say MVP's theme. He had a great entrance, a great theme. Oh, dude, he was on US champion MVP coming out of a tunnel. Oh, such a great aesthetic.
DX always at the top.
Drew McIntyre's original theme that they won't give him back for whatever reason.
Broken Dream. When he did that in Scotland,
dude, was great.
Like, what do you mean you're just gonna play like the first 10 seconds of it?
Didn't get it at all.
Oh, I can't forget my guy. Sheamus's first theme song.
Kicks ass.
So good. Again, 2012 Sheamus, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. He is up there in those single season years of 2009 Orton, 2008, 2007 Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
I think 05 Cena, 2012 Sheamus. Put him up there because that run was incredible. I was thinking I was on bro kick, folks.
Gunther's especially the NXT UK when he was Walter, just like the organ, like the dun dun. Oh, badass! It fit him very well.
It's so good for a heel.
Yeah,
especially a heel for him because it feels big.
Yeah,
it feels like a final boss battle.
Yeah, it feels like he's gonna beat the living shit out of me. This might not go well.
The NXT UK match between he and Ilya Dragunov.
One of the
match ever.
That is a match that there's probably the only match ever that benefited from not having a crowd, because you can just hear them slapping
they were
the
in there,
piss out
no
of each
crowd
other.
in the UK. Just doing it for the love of the game.
Yeah. What's
Just
my
in there
favorite
on
match ever? Oh, okay. That's your favorite match. That's a great pick for your favorite match ever.
I go back and watch that like religiously.
My favorite match ever, I think, for sentimental purposes, Jeff Hardy, Edge, Triple H, I think it was Armageddon Triple Threat when Jeff first won the WWE title. Yeah.
It was so cool too because of the way that they shot Jeff winning.
Yes.
Like, he came out of nowhere. Like, that was one of my favorite parts of it.
One of JR's best calls too of that time. He's Hardy wins. I was like, God damn it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was good.
The 6-man Hell in a Cell that culminated who ran over Stone Cold.
Yeah. With the Undertaker ever. Choke pushing Rikishi.
Yeah. One of my favorite matches ever.
I don't say choke slam because that wasn't a choke slam. That was a choke
like a force
shove.
Push. It was like Darth Vader. The Raw match between HBK and John Cena that went 60
incredible.
minutes.
Incredible match. I'm trying to think. AEW had a string of like Hangman and Kenny Omega against the Young Bucks.
Against the Young Bucks.
Best tag team match I've ever watched. The Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers in the cage. Incredible match.
So my favorite tag team match I ever watched is New Day Usos Hell in a Cell.
That's a great one.
Just badass. And then
despite how I feel about Jey Uso now, yeah, great match.
Honestly, the gauntlet match during Kofi Mania.
Oh, when the Usos forfeit, great moment. Forfeited, great moment.
So good.
Yeah.
Just so good.
There's got to be a Bryan Danielson match on here for me. His match with Ospreay at Dynasty was just maybe the greatest match in the history of Western wrestling. Just those two being like, yeah, I'm the best in the world. You're the best in the world. Let's go. Just put on an absolute banger.
That was a really good one.
He had a match with Minoru Suzuki on a kickoff show for Rampage because they were going head to head with SmackDown. So they just ran a one-off like AEW YouTube special. This match was on YouTube to go head to head with SmackDown, and they did Danielson Suzuki, and it was awesome.
It's insane. One of my favorite New Japan matches is I think it was Hiroki Goto against either Shingo Takagi or Tomohiro Ishii.
You're a big Ishii guy.
Oh, I freaking love Ishii, Takagi, Goto. The never open weight title is one of my favorite titles because it's not for like the show. It's not for the flips. It's just big dudes who hit the shit out of each other.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
And there's a point during the match where they're just wailing on each other with lariats. And I'm like, this is real shit. This is real wrestling.
Who is it? Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, Triple Threat, TNA. Tremendous.
Insane. Incredible match.
I love it.
I'm trying to think of another AJ Styles match that I really like. He had a run when he first got to the WWE that was insane.
His Cena rivalry, I hope they do something with those two this year.
Oh, what I think is going to happen is I think Cena wins. Cena beats Cody at Mania. I think that's the only way that this first part of the story ends. Cena wins at Mania, beats Cody. I think we get an Orton feud to start. I think we get Punk at SummerSlam, and I think there's an AJ Styles in there somewhere.
I think Punk pulls him back to the light in the SummerSlam feud.
I think we start to see it, but I think Cody's the one to retire him at the end of the year.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Who would retire Cena? Cody makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. Don't do some of this Austin Theory bullshit like you did a couple years ago. It's got to be like somebody great.
Although if they did go young with it, I only see one person or two people that would retire Cena.
Is one of them Braun Breaker?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think somebody mentioned it on TikTok, but they need to give Braun Breaker sort of this new version of the Legend Killer.
Oh, that would be cool. I'd like that.
He just goes around like spearing like the old dudes.
I'd like that.
I think that'd be sick. The other person I was thinking was Gunther.
I was thinking, that's who I was thinking. Cena, I think that makes a lot of sense.
But that would require one of them turning face. But again,
I think that you can do that with Cena. You can easily turn him back face like after SummerSlam, and then on whatever December 31st, have a match between him and Gunther becomes WWE champion. Sign me up. I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
Because then we get back to Gunther versus Cody.
Yes. That's your Mania match. There you go.
There it is. I do think there is one match that at WrestleMania that I'm so excited for, and I don't know how they're gonna get to it. Rollins, Punk, Reigns is going to be match of the year.
I don't know how they're going to get to it either. They've done work for Rollins to get there with Punk and Roman. I don't know how Punk and Roman necessarily get there. I think
they're still the favor that
sure
Punk owes Roman or Paul.
But why would Punk win in a match that doesn't have any sort of like stakes to it? Unless they make it like a number one contender match, then that's fine.
I think that's basically what it is at Mania. It's number one contender match for either title. But more importantly, it is I hate everybody in this ring. Seth Rollins is the peak hater. Like
this run that he's been on is something that probably the most I've enjoyed Seth Rollins in a long time. And now if he just ditched the whole dressing like a dork and doing all that,
funny because he's clearly doing like the Macho Man thing.
Kind of,
comes out in the most extravagant stuff. And I just think it's funny because I get to say like Seth Rollins dresses like, and then just random things. Like I said the other day, he dressed like Carmen Sandiego. So I just want that match because I know that we need somebody to like bleed in that match.
I would agree. I think that the Owens Zayn match would have been much better if one of them bled.
I don't know, man. I think that was just violence.
Oh, it kicked ass. It was a good match.
The barbed wire chair was like, oh shit, like all right, man.
Yeah,
my bad. Like, I didn't think y'all were getting to that. I was hoping they did the double ladder thing like they did in Ring of Honor.
That's what I was
also one
hoping
of my
for as
favorite
well.
Matches.
It's a great match.
Him against El Generico.
Yeah.
In the ladder match. Oh my gosh, who was it? Samoa Joe against Kabashi.
Oh, good shout. Good shout.
Again, you will understand with me, there's a trend here. If you hit somebody really hard, I'm like, hell yeah. Like, again, one of my favorite matches, Gunther, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre at Mania.
That is one of my favorite matches as well. That match rules.
Like, it was incredible. And it was just three big dudes hitting and kicking each other really hard. Wrestling is simple.
It really is. At the end of the day, it is incredibly simple. Go and read JP's piece comparing NFL prospects to not football things on SB Nation. I just did a Bills mock at Sporting News where I just went balls to the wall with Brandon Being saying, to hell with those picks. I'm getting Myles Garrett and DK Metcalf. So go and read that, as well as a bunch of other stuff coming from me at various different sites. Buddy, I appreciate you as always. It's a lot of fun. What else do you have coming outside of the new piece?
Just follow me on Twitter, see what I'm doing, see where I'm going. Follow me on Blue Sky, see what I'm doing. Doing a lot more film work, a lot more draft work. Just had a story go up about Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to do some more deep dives into prospects I think are really interesting going forward in this draft cycle. So make sure to follow along for those things.
I love it. All right, everybody. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. New League Gear, less than a week away. We'll be here to have it covered. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Leave a comment and a review if you're listening as a podcast. See y'all soon. It's a pump fake.